The word Altay comes from the Turkic word altan, which means golden. At some point in time, travelers and researchers decided to divide the Altay, or the Golden Mountains, into Russian, Mongolian, and the Gobi Altai. All these territories are part of one mountain system in the center of the Asian continent, and this mountainous land combines diverse landscapes. In the Altai, you can see the desert relief of the Mongolian hills replaced by mountain taiga. This land hides many treasures and mineral resources. Rich forests have animals and birds. Rivers are full of fish. Administratively, most of the mountain Altai belongs to the Altai Republic. A smaller one is part of the East Kazakhstan region of the Republic of Kazakhstan. East Kazakhstan is located in the center of Eurasia. Most of this land consists of mountain systems of Rudny and South Altai, Kalba, Saur-Tarbagatay. Amazingly, on the territory of eastern Kazakhstan, the steppes and semi-deserts of Asia intermix with the Siberian mountain taiga, creating a uniquely diverse landscape. Here you can get to the desert, climb up to the snow peaks, walk through the taiga, see lakes reflecting the skies above, and mountain streams. The biggest rivers in this area are the Irtysh and its largest influxes, the river Uba, Ulba, and Bukhtarma. The biggest lakes are Markakol, Zaysan, Rakhmanovskaya, Saskol, Alakol, and Maralia. Altai holds a special place. It is a mountain system that borders 4 countries: Russia, Kazakhstan, China, and Mongolia. The highest peak in Altai is the twin-peak mountain Beluga that is set 4,506 meters in height. The mountain slopes are covered in a rich cedar forest, and the path that leads to its wilderness give you a feeling of some different dimension or age. Deep in the Altai Mountains, you forget about the big city noise, the hustle and bustle. You dive into the virgin world full of pine tree aromas with lots of ancient legends. There is a story of the Rakhmanovskaya lake which says that it was named after a hunter who was following the tracks of a wounded red deer until he saw it standing neck deep in the water. Then the animal gracefully jumped out of the water and disappeared in the forest, and the hunter learned from nature how to identify healing waters and medicinal herbs. And today thousands of tourists visit the Altai. Some come to see local virgin nature, others heal from illnesses, and yet others come for adventures. Amazing landscapes in the diverse relief allow to go on SUV trips and horse rides, or to go mountain climbing or on hikes. Altai is part of a large mountain system called the Altai-Sayan Mountains, with borders spanning from Lake Zaysan to the Baikal. Only its southwestern edge is located in Kazakhstan. Its southern border is the Black Irtysh River and the Lake Zaysan Basin, and its western border is the Kalbinsky Ridge. In terms of its relief, the Kazakhstan's Altai mountain range is divided into 3 areas: Southern Altai, Rudny Altai, and the Kalbinsky Ridge. This land has a harsh climate. As if antennas, the mountains attract the clouds. Snow falls early in the day and melts very late, making it a paradise for those who love winter sports. It is a training spot for skiers and biathlon athletes. The mountain skiers come to the tourist camps from different countries. First, the travelers get to the town of Ritter. It is located in the Rudny Altai, which is the name of the southwestern part of the Altai Mountains and consists of low ridges: Ubinsky, Ivanovsky, Ulbinsky, which span west of the central Altai mountain range of Kolzun. Rudny Altai also includes Bukhtarma Mountains, separated from the south and central Altai Valley by the river Narym, an upstream Bukhtarma river. 200 million years ago, it was a sea, but the volcanoes were still active. These mountains were destroyed and rose again, forming the overlapping folding. This wonderful land is rich in mineral resources and deposits of base and rare metals. Rudny Altai is the first mining and metallurgy area of the country, and it holds a special place in the history of economic development of eastern Kazakhstan. The first scientific research in Altai began in the 18th century. The German scientist Gebler was a doctor, but as a natural scientist he was interested in geography and discovered the glacial Altai. Gebler suggested that this area might have glaciation. and intended to measure the height of the Mount Beluga. But the trigonometric measurements of the peak were made only 60 years later. However, his assumptions about the existence of glaciers in the Khatum Alps were confirmed. Gebler discovered two large glaciers, Khatun and Berelsky. The latter was later named after him. Altai is in third place among the world's mountainous lands in terms of the number of glaciers and their glaciation levels. The Irtysh fortification line appeared here in the early 18th century, and lots of settlers started to move in here, which included craftsmen from the Ural and Altai plants, various dissenters and old believers hiding from the church, and entrepreneurial manufacturers. For some time, all the lands of the Altai belonged to the famous Ural metallurgist of Petrian age, Akinfi Demidov, who organized the geological exploration. And the first finds of ore already showed astonishing results. Soon the first copper smelting plants appeared in Altai, and later a metallurgic plant was built. This was the start of the mining and metallurgy industry in Altai. In 1760, after the plants in Altai were transformed to the ownership of the royal cabinet, and the region saw the commencement of massive exploration activities. A government decree was issued on occupation of Siberian lands from the Ust-Kamenogorsk fort along the river Bukhtarma and further until Lake Tletskaya. Many expeditions were organized in this area. Pioneers and mineralogists took forever new territories from nature. Time went by, and finally the mineral exploration works here were finished. After the Soviet Union came to power in 1917, modern mining camps, plants, and enrichment factories were built in place of abandoned enterprises. New integrated plants equipped with first-class machinery were established. A modern city grew up at the place of the old mine that was discovered in 1786 by one of the exploration campaigns headed by young mountain officer Philip Ritter. Not just the mine was named after him, but also the settlement that was established around the mine, which later turned into a town. It is spread across hill slopes in the upper streams of the Ulba Valley at the height of 1,000 meters above sea level. At the foothills of the Ivanovsky Ridge, where two rivers with funny names, Gromatuha and Bystruha, run. Mine workers, ore dressers, metallurgists, construction workers mostly live here. Also, Ritter has a lot of people who love mountain tourism, hikes, paragliders, and all kinds of skiers. Eastern Kazakhstan has lots of tourist camps. In many of them, the visitors stay in log houses with a constant, noble smell of wood inside. This allows for a more in-depth dive into the nature of the Altai, with its virgin silence, with red squirrels and ermines running in the snow between the trees, and bears hibernating in their dens until spring. There are centennial cedars, silver firs, and larches growing everywhere. The cedar wood, with its pleasant pink shade, has high resonance properties and is used for making musical instruments. Cedar needles contain ether oils, keratin, vitamins, valuable sap, and cedar nuts, which gave the cedar tree its other name, the bread tree. Many birds and animals feed on the nuts. People also gather the cedar cones, and that is why the cedar nuts make a very valuable addition to food. Siberian silver fir, aspen, birch cherry, wild ash, birch groves. The Altai forests are incredibly rich. The elevation rate is very smooth here, barely noticeable. The paths run through fields and groves, and now you can see moss on the rocks. And in the summer, thick Bergenia leaves grow here. This means we are in the subalpine belt. An extraordinary artist, writer, archaeologist, traveler, and public person, founder of international cultural movements, World Through Culture and World Flag, Nikolai Rerich embarked on an expedition to Central Asia. In August of 1926, his expedition was in Altai. As a result of his Trans-Asian travel, Rerich wrote a book, Altai Himalayas. It contains passages such as the welcoming Khatun, bright blue mountains, and the white Beluga. The flowers are bright, and green grass and cedars bring tranquility. Who said that the Altai is cruel and inaccessible? Whose heart feared such power and beauty? Rerich wrote that in terms of people's migration, Altai is one of the most important points. A tomb surrounded by large rocks, or Chutskaya graveyard, and inscriptions on rocks. All this leads to an important age. Both prehistorically and historically, Altai is an unopened treasure box. Beluga is the highest point of the Katun Ridge, located at the border of Kazakhstan and Altai. It is at an equal distance from the oceans and is a central mountain area of Eurasia. Beluga rises at the source of the rivers Katun and Belaya Biren in the Katon-Karagay district of the East Kazakhstan region. According to Rerich, the Mount Beluga is similar to Tibetan Mount Kailas, and this is where the great Buddha Gautama came from to India. The researcher considered the peak to be a portal through which the earth gets space energy. According to the legend, one of the entrances to the mysterious land of gods, Shambhala, can be found here. Since ancient times, this peak was considered as sacred, and the land around Beluga is famous for its richness. Over 200 of medicinal herbs grow in this area, including golden or red deer root. Bees collect special nectar here, and the Altai honey is well known across the world. Upon arrival, tourists will hear many legends here. One of them tells a story that once God decided to make a place of peace and joy on earth. He called upon the deer, hawk, and the cedar and assigned each one of them a task to search for the best place for them. The golden land will be in the place where their paths come together. The deer was running for a long time. The hawk flew high in the sky, and the cedar tree went deep into the ground with its roots, and they all met in the mountainous land where all of them felt good. This is how the golden land was formed, and is now called Altai. According to archaeologists, the first people appeared on the territory of the Altai around 1.5 million years ago. Around 200,000 years ago, during the Middle Paleolithic Age, people started to settle in caves. It is possible that this was the time when the local people began to build long-term houses using bones of ancient animals as wall posts. Modern scientists know tens of ancient settlements in the Altai dating from different eras, from the Neolithic Age until early medieval age. Many of them can be surely called as unique memorials of history and culture. The Altai princess was a sensational archaeological finding. The mummy was found in the highland Okok in the very south of the Altai Republic at the border of Kazakhstan, China, Mongolia, and Russia. Today, this highland is already included into the UNESCO list of World Heritage. The burial mound where the female mummy was found had an average size, and everything was suggesting that it was burglarized many hundreds of years ago. However, the grave was untouched. According to the notes left by archaeologists, every day of excavations led to the further melting of the ice in the burial chamber and uncovering of new findings. Skeletons of 6 horses appeared with preserved wooden decorations on the harness and a saddle made of colored wool. The pillow on one of the saddles had a picture of a jumping winged lion, one of the best pieces of art to have been found at Okok all throughout the excavation years. Later, the ice covering the burial chamber, which is itself made of birch logs, melted. Instead of a floor, the hole's bottom had black wool with 3 vessels, made of clay, wood, and horn. These vessels were filled with a cult drink not for the dead person, but for the god that the dead person will see in the other world. The fat sheep tail with a knife in it and served on a wooden dish was meant for the deity as well. The grave had remains of a woman. She had a long skirt made of Chinese silk, a belt with red brushes, and long wool sock boots with a plant ornament on her legs. Before that time, Chinese silk was found only in the royal Pazyryk burial mounds, as it was valued more than gold and was a sign of wealth. After coming to this land, you can learn more about its amazing history, hear the legends and stories, and see the unique natural landscapes. Altai in the winter is a virgin snow-covered slopes, sounds of cable cars, laughter, and at nights it is the cozy get-together with friends and old residents that will tell you stories about local wonders. In the morning, once again, mountain skis and snowboard, and someone is rushing to get to training, carrying long-running skis on their shoulders, and someone is still in their house, in the city behind the computer, marking the summer route. Considering that you can get to the Altai by car, on a mountain bike, you can hike here, or go on a horse ride. Restless streams in this land attract those who love water tourism. Beluga awaits its mountaineers. The mountain trails are used to the light steps of hiking tourists, and the mountain slopes are used to the crackling sound of snow under people's feet and the sliding mountain skis. Come to Altai. Here you will surely find something special just for you.